Hello, divine, messy humans. I am back with you today for the video number 2 on survival mode. I've been thinking about this a lot over the last couple of days, and that's why I've decided to do this video series on it. And today I want to talk to you about actual danger versus perceived danger. So we can have reactions to both. Even when we're not actually in danger, we can have reactions to what we perceive is going to be dangerous to us. And we can create a massive story in our head and a massive reactionary pattern and chain of events that, in hindsight, perhaps is an overreaction, or we feel completely justified because we haven't seen how it's built. Now, our nervous system is programmed pretty much every day of our life. And unless we're constantly clearing our stress, we are building stress on top of stress. From being told off by our parents for things we didn't, believe that we'd done or what have you, to, getting told off by teachers or by tripping over and hurting our knee, or any of these tiny small things can actually be stored as trauma in the body, because trauma is anything that is less than nourishing or nurturing to you as a human being. Now, that means that each individual person will process and deal with stress and trauma differently. Because what is stressful and traumatic to you may not be stressful and traumatic to me. I may sail through that, but what I find stressful and traumatic, you may find absolutely fine. And so there becomes these whole myriad of grays. There's no black and white, as right and wrong, as to what is the correct nervous system. It literally is just as it is. And I used to hate that saying when I first started spiritual development. I thought it was really fucking annoying, if I'm going to be honest. And I've come to learn that it really actually is just what it is. So when we're in actual danger, our body naturally, the whole point of it, in fact, is to keep us safe. It's to allow us to grow to adulthood and become, grown up members of our community, of our tribe, of wherever it is that we belong. And part of that is about acceptance from the other people. And part of it, obviously, is a safety thing. So when we're looking at what is actually dangerous, we are thinking physical danger, we are thinking situational danger, we are often thinking, perhaps abuses or big traumas and all of that sort of stuff. And our body will naturally react in some way or another. So it might be fight, flight, freeze, fragmentation, fawning, as we spoke about yesterday. If you didn't see yesterday's video, go to my channel and it's there. It's video 1. And that danger, if we deal with it properly, which is not how we've been taught how to deal with things, we will finish the stress response. So we will feel the fear, we will have a reaction, we will then release that feeling from our body, usually through physical movement, running, what have you, shake it off, and there's a resolution at the end. That is completing a stress response. When we interrupt that stress response, which we so often do because, we need to dust ourselves off, there's no blood, that didn't hurt, you just fell over, up you get on with it. Those sorts of reactions mean that we often deny or teach ourselves to deny what is actually going on within us. And so in that, it becomes programming. If we are told we need thicker skin, we will keep a lot of our emotional responses hidden. If we're told we're overly sensitive, or if we're, overly emotional, or we're too much, we will temper our behavior accordingly, depending on the feedback that we're getting, which creates, again, this faulty nervous system wiring. So when we're in physical danger, if we can complete that stress response, we come to a resolution, our body relaxes again. But often what happens in our modern day life is because we're built to move at walking pace, we're shooting around the world at 60, 80, 100 kilometers an hour. We are moving super fast. We have so many images thrown at us with news and social media and, flashing lights and bright neon signs, and all of this kind of stuff is literally bombarding our senses, and we can only process a very small amount of it. But also our body stores a lot of that as stress because our body is constantly under attack and there's not a lot of downtime, which is why a lot of the time I do suggest to my clients to slow down, unplug, and go into nature a lot more. And all of this comes under that perceived danger. Our physiological body perceives that we are in danger because there is so much information coming in that we cannot process it. The other thing that obviously is not necessarily life or death is some of the other abuses that are out there, the financial abuse, the emotional abuse, the psychological abuse. There are much more insidious types of abuse that aren't necessarily a fight or flight kind of immediate reaction, but they're like a drip in the bucket, which is priming somebody's nervous system to perceive actual physical danger when there is none. Now, that's not to say those situations aren't dangerous, because they are. They absolutely are. It is frightening living in, any of those kind of situations. But often what will happen is, because our nervous system then gets primed, we're also seeing a lot of fear where perhaps, or a lot of actual danger where there perhaps isn't as much, survival danger to us. So all of these are things that can program our nervous system to have strange and weird and wonderful responses to everyday situations. And this is where compassion comes in, because somebody who, cuts you off on the road and then abuses you, shakes their fist at you, all of that kind of stuff, and shows that road rage, it's not necessarily about you in the car. It's all of these nervous system things that we can't see going on. People who are rude, obnoxious, nasty, abusive, a lot of those things are also through that nervous system response and the miswiring of that nervous system. So what I love to do with clients is really look to rewire their nervous system and change their reactionary patterns through understanding, through compassion, and through a lot of other, tools and techniques that I have in my toolkit. The other thing that can create nervous system issues is things like the media with their fear porn. Because let's face it, the media, if they just showed us beautiful, lovely stories all the time, if it wasn't all doom and gloom and destruction and fear, they would go out of business. People become addicted to that because we used to need that fear to survive. There wasn't enough food, there wasn't enough money, there wasn't enough shelter. It was actually truly survival. Whereas these days we are for the most part, depending obviously on where you are in the world, we have governmental support. Most of us who still have this faulty wiring are actually in not too bad a place. Now, this is not to dismiss truly traumatic, poverty-ridden experiences, homelessness, all of that kind of stuff. This is not about that at all. I'm not making any judgments. But the fear porn industry is huge. Think of the last few years where everything was death and destruction and doom and gloom and, the world's ending, and there's one way to deal with it, and it's to lock you down, siphon you away, keep you away from the people you love, and keep you out of nature, and all of these rules that were imposed on us. And then we had it blasting through every airway, through everywhere you walked, you would hear conversations about it. That's fear porn. And that also damages your nervous system. It puts you into survival mode because you are then buying into the messages that there isn't enough to go around, that there isn't abundance, that there is scarcity, that it is scary to be alive, that you will lose your house, your job, your income, that all of this stuff is terrifying. And so all of these different ways put us into survival mode. They take us out of our front brain, creative thinking, and they put us into a back brain survival mode. And it's just really interesting starting to see how you respond in these situations. With the work I've done, I can now feel when my nervous system starts to tighten, starts to be like that spring on the coil. And I'm able to employ techniques or employ other practitioners to help me ease out of that and untighten the spring so that I'm not bouncing off everything like I used to. So think about that. Do you feel like a tightly wound spring a lot of the time? Or do you have some really good strategies that can unwind you and help you slip out of that survival mode? Now, some of the next things I want to talk to you about is some of the learnings that we get from being in survival mode and how survival mode can make us stronger, as well as obviously all the damage that I mentioned today. So it does get more positive, I promise. But keep watching. Let me know any other topics that you want me to talk to you about. Put it in the comments. If you like this video, like, comment, share, go back and watch some of my other videos. I'm starting to build a library and hopefully getting more consistent at doing so. Sending you all lots of love. Have a fabulous day and we'll see you soon.